Hello and welcome to NoobAquatics. My name is Matthew Stigney. Thank you so much for coming back to view our videos. Um, just like all the other videos, we want to say thank you so much to all our subscribers and all of those that have liked our videos. Going forward, we would thank you even more if you would continue to subscribe if you haven't yet, and make sure you hit that like button. Today, we are just going to go over some updates here because we're always on our track to try to always improve our aquariums and our tanks and make it easier for the the experienced and beginner hobbyists. So what are we talking about? So today we are talking about how we are going to reduce the cleaning that we need to and reduce the water changes. So what have we done, where we're going, and what we have now that's new in the fish room. So let's go over a new tour of what we got and what we've done. All right, so as you'll see here, we have made some changes. Now, they may be a little difficult to see at first, but of course, you always know that we have the pothos here. It's just growing like crazy. We added a new plant up here, the Monstera, so Swiss cheese plant or whatever you want to call it there. We were trying that and seeing how well that grows in the back. We got our pothos growing over here, roots in here, if they'll stay in. All right, so yeah, that's okay. All right, so yeah, so we got our pothos over here. I actually put a plant light over here. Why? Because I wanted that pothos to get a little bit more light. I have it set on medium brightness so that it's not just blaring it with brightness. Because if it's growing, then it's pulling all the nitrates and stuff out of there. Well, and then of course we got our pothos over here, that type of thing. So let's go over what we did here. So every tank, and you'll see here, and I'll show you, we decided to add more substrate. So you'll see our original layer of substrate right here. All right, and we added a whole inch of substrate above it. All right, so this is just a 10-gallon tank. So now there is about 3 inches of substrate in this 10-gallon tank. We planted some more plants over here on the right. Okay. We also, in all of our tanks, did some other things that I'll mention. But all we have in here is sponge filters, and our goal is to not actually clean those. They're going to be used as biological filtration. So what I did was I buried the base in there, and it's just kind of some air bubbles. Over time, we will reduce the flow. So you see how it's coming out fast. Slowly, every 2 or 3 months, we're going to reduce that down to where there's less and less bubbles coming through. Same thing with this in the back. Of course, we got assassin snails in there, and you'll see the pothos root decided to go ahead and root itself down into the ground. All right. And back there, it's rooting all the way through the filter. So that filter is never coming out, and it's in the ground back there. So all those roots are going to pull all of the poop and stuff out of here. Now, why did we add the deep substrate? You'll see here that I now have another 1.5 inch layer of sand above this substrate here. And we did that to all of our tanks. The 40-gallon, the 20s, except for that one. That one's being treated for some parasites because we just got some new fish for that. Temporary quarantine tank, all of them, even the ones in the back. But what did we do that for? Well, because a deep substrate layer makes a much better filtration, media than what do you see is missing? Than the hang on the back filter we had. So that hang on the back filter that was up here, the Tidal 110, we got rid of it. And I went straight to just sponge filters only. All right, in this tank we have 2 beautiful pitch black rams in here. I don't know if you see them in there. Beautiful, breeding like crazy, but we are trying not, we only, entice them to breed when we don't have babies already. All right, I added a lot more plants because we want to make sure that the substrate layer is always being filtered out by the roots, and that the roots that are down in there are actually removing those air pockets that build up. Now in the bottom layer here, if any of you ever watch Father Fish, you'll know that the bacteria down here in the lower levels of this substrate, they cannot get to the oxygen. And because of that, they start consuming nitrates to breathe. So that's the main reason here. The main reason of the deep substrate is to reduce the amount of water changes that we have to do to make it easier for us. And you see these guys are very friendly. They like to come up here. They're like, you got food for me? We don't actually feed them that much. In here is a bunch of their babies. All right. So I don't know if you see those little guys. All those little things in there moving. Over on the left here, those are the pitchback black babies. Most of them are gold because I pulled all the black ones out, and unfortunately I killed them by accident. So we got a lot of gold ones in there with the pitch black gene. In here we added more plants as well. All right, we added more plants. Okay. So those are the changes we made here, and I got a bunch more pencil fish to put in here to help with the bio load. Right now it's only at about 30% even full. And new plants in there, of course. Now these are going to melt because we just got them and they were not grown submerged, so they will melt and then regrow. Hopefully it'll be fast. If not, oh well. All right. Over here we have our Pelvicochromis taenitis. I don't even know how to say it. The smaller crib. Right here, you'll see here's the male. There's the female. They actually have wigglers in one of the 3 caves that are in there or underneath this stick. I don't know where they are. They keep moving them. All right, so this is their tank, and they are peacefully living with shrimp in there, which is amazing. All right, it's hard to see where the shrimp is. You'll see right here. There's a Neocaridina shrimp right there. There's more in there. Now they eat the babies, but they don't go after the bigger ones. Down here, we added some wild bettas. These are the mini Mahacan beta unimaculata wild bettas. Now I would say I would show you where they are, but they are, let's just say they are, stealth ninjas. They hide back there in all those plants. All right, up here I have some really cool Valsinaria that is leopard Valsinaria. I'm going to plant that over on the right side over there. Right now it's floating at the moment, but it is growing and they like it. All right, over here is where all my new pencil fish are. And then up here at the top, we're going to start breeding some really cool award-winning killifish. These are the Gardneri Indendia or something like that. I can't remember what it's called, but these are actually some killifish that I bought from a gentleman that actually won a well-renowned fish award for him. There's the male right there. All right, but he sold me some pairs, or he sold me some males, and I got the females from someone that he sold some pairs to, and they're doing great in there. They're still young though, and they're going to be moving into a tank over there. But then we also have some new apistogrammas in here. We decided to, you see, here's one, there's one back there. We decided to retire our McMasteri and our Hongsloi and decided to go with something a little different. Why? Because, I mean, you should always change out what you're breeding in your aquariums. You can't breed fish, forever. Eventually, you're going to have to retire those fish, and you're going to have to either get new ones in, meaning a new McMasteri, or go with something different. Well, we're going to go with something different because we don't hardly ever see these in the aquarium trade. Now, these are females in here only. All right, these are the Apistogramma alpoeo, or otherwise known as originally as the black chin apistogramma. They're related to the Cockatoides, but not quite the same. So there's 4 females in here. We'll be picking out 3 of those. All right, over here, this is our super red pleco aquarium and our wild type shrimp aquarium. As you'll see, all those shrimp up there at the top. Boom, shrimp, they eat zucchini. All right, I added a bunch of plants in here as well. Added a bunch of substrate. And this is where the killifish are going to go. They're going to go in here because of the grass-like. So this guppy grass up here is going to be where they lay their eggs. The eggs are going to hatch, and we're going to hopefully have hundreds of killifish in here to sell in the future.
And the capacity will be 250%.
Nah. All right, and this, of course, is our yellow shrimp tank. And you'll see this is what they look like. This is also where we breed. If you can see it right there, that's not algae. That is California blackworms sticking out of the substrate right there. Lots of them. All right, lots of them. We also breed California blackworms in this little bitty 2.5 gallon tank. We were doing Daphnia, but we didn't have any luck with Daphnia in the small tank. So if you ever try to do Daphnia, go with 50 gallons or more. It'll be much easier. But yeah, so that's this here. And let's go take a look at some other stuff over here on the other side. My beautiful wife. Don't look at that. My computer. All right, so over here. All right, this is our grow out, two more of our grow out tanks. As you'll see in here, you can see all of those babies. These are some of the pelvicochromis, the rare ones from the Ideneu branch that we have. We have about 70 babies in here that'll be ready in about 6 weeks. In here was the original batch of fry that we got. We got about 60 babies, but only 5 of them survived, and that's because we had some fish in here that tried to eat the 6th one. But you'll see they're already feisty in there. But there's only 5 in there. We got some cories in here, so these are the Julii cories, and that's the brevirosity cories in the back there. You can't see them, but they've been laying eggs in these tanks, but I don't think they're ever going to hatch because the cichlids keep eating them. All right. And we got the deep layer substrate in here as well, and planted in our tanks. The goal here is to plant the tanks. Plant the tanks. The plants and the deep substrate is going to be what filters the water and removes all the minerals and the impurities so that you don't have to change it. So our goal in the future is to go down to about a water change every 3 to 6 months. We're going to try. We'll test our water every 2 weeks. If the nitrates are higher than a certain amount, we'll change some water. If it's not, we're going to leave it alone and let it go to the next week and so forth. And we'll keep doing that to all our tanks until they're at the point where we don't have to hardly do any water changes. So natural aquariums, that's our goal. Over here is another temporary quarantine tank. And as you'll see, it's brown. That's because, and that's brown over there, because we like tannin water. It's good for the fish. Back here in the back, all right. It's hard to see. See if I can get a good picture of them. We have our male. It's hard to get a good picture of that guy. Stop moving, buddy. We have our male Apistogramma black chin. This guy grows really slow compared to the females. He's staring at me right now. All right, that's him there. We have him separated out because he was a lot smaller than the females. I have him in with 5 pencilfish to make him feel comfortable. But we're going to get him a little bit bigger before we introduce him to the females, because he's supposed to get a lot bigger than the females, but right now he's only about half the size. So to prevent the females from killing him, he may stay in here until he's about 2 inches before we put him in with the females. Yeah, so that's our new addition, pencilfish. You know, they're just crazy. I just like pencilfish. One other new addition over here, and you can't see it because I got it covered with a towel, but instead of Daphnia, all right, so here you go. You see, this is our live food area and water change area. But over here we are culturing white worms, so the slightly bigger white worms, and we're culturing grindle worms. All right, I just changed them out and cleaned them today, so they're all been recultured-ish. Some of them I'll have to do in a few weeks, but I just recultured the grindle worms. So I cleaned it out, washed it out, rinsed it out, got rid of all the poop, and then put a bunch of the grindle worms back in there. All right, you got one here, you got another one over there, and you'll see these right here are cotton vents that I've hot glued on there because you don't want any mites to get in there. Mites can destroy your culture completely, and I did that with all these. These are all custom made lids by me. Not really custom made, but I did drill a hole in there and put glue on there, so pretty easy to do. If you want to see a video of me reculturing one of these white worm cultures or the grindle worm culture, let me know and I'll try to get a video of that done in the future. Just make sure you put that in the comments below so I'll know what you're looking for in the future. They like darkness, so that's why they're covered with a towel. And they like the temperature to be around 72 degrees, so we keep the house right around there at all times. Now let's go back. Now let's go back to the kids' room and take a look at their tanks, because we did pretty much the same thing with their tanks, and we have a new addition back there that we'd like to let you know about. So let's go back and take a look at their tanks. Our hallway. All right, so over here, this is my older boy's tank. Let me turn the light on because it is dark in here. Boom. All right. We did the same thing with his. We put a bunch more sand in here to create that deep substrate because we want to go all natural as much as possible. We have the pothos. I have extra light in the back there. I don't know if you see it. That's for the pothos so that it'll grow. All right, we got the cherry barb. Now he's actually breeding these. He's got babies in there. Might be hard to see, but there's a baby right there. I don't know if you see him. Little bitty baby right there. He's got a couple of them in there. Back in the back corner right there is the baby. All right, and he has his cichlid back there. He likes to hide in right here. Let's see if I can get a better image of him here. Hard to see, but he has a German blue ram in there, and it's a beautiful one, but he loves it in there. He likes to hide in there underneath all of these leaves. Yeah, that moss is just growing like crazy. This moss I did not glue there, it just started growing there on some. All right, and we got rid of the hang on the back filter here too. So every tank has just got, sponge filters, very cheap. We are making sure that even the beginner can afford this. The substrate was the most expensive part of this tank, and it was $22. Why? Because I use a cheap substrate that's sand and black. But yeah, so that's his tank. Not much changes there except for the deep substrate. He already had all those plants and the missing hang on the back filter. This is my middle boy's tank, same thing, deep substrate, no hang on the back filter. The fish are all the same in there though. All right, we just now got this thing in the back regrowing. We got a light here for it. That thing's doing well up there. It says welcome. They actually made this out of Legos. It's hard to see, but it says welcome. Very creative. All right, so that's that. Cardinal tetras and a beta in here somewhere. There he is. There's the beta. His name is Silver Dollar. He's blue and black, but they call him Silver Dollar anyways. All right. He's got shrimp in here too with that beta too. It's amazing. Let's go take a look at my daughter's tank. Hello, kids. They're making a fort. Huh. All right, so here's my daughter's tank. So this one here has had some changes. Right there, you'll see the male and female pair in the back. There's the male. There's the female there. These are some wild bettas. They are beta albi marginata Tarakan. We got them from a wonderful gentleman here in Ohio. All right, he was found on Facebook, and I'll post the link to the wild beta page below if you want to reach out and get some awesome betas from him. Okay, but yeah, so we got them in there. They're doing great. They're in the back. Okay, got the plant growing. This one up here almost died. You'll see here. This one here almost died, but if you look now, I was able to fix it. All right, get it some more light, and now I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 new shoots growing off of that plant right there. Okay, and there they are again in the back. Let's see if I can get a better picture of them. They're young, about the age to breed, but they are young and they are pretty. So that's the new changes here. If you want to see the unboxing of these bettas, I will put that in the right up here in the corner so you can actually see what kind of bettas those are. Zoom tour of our house, or should I say small apartment, I guess. Were you looking to see if there was wigglers in there? All right, so that's what we did to our fish room. Now the one I said, like I said, needs more sand is this bottom one here. They are on their very last treatment of Frazi Pro. Whenever I change the water out, I'm going to add in that massive new 1.5 inches of sand and then fill the water back up to the top. And we believe that the male in there, all right, the male betta in there is actually holding in his mouth, or holding babies in his mouth, because he picked up a bunch of eggs and he's still acting like he's holding. So hopefully we'll have babies soon. If not, we will also know that soon too. The first day he could have released them was a couple days ago, but he can hold them up to 21 days before he releases them. So we'll see what's going on. And you'll see we have neon tetras in there. We lost one. We think the female ate one. She was chasing them. There's 4, and there was 5, so we think the female just kind of ate one, which is bound to happen. All right. If you want to see the unboxing of these mini Mahakan Betta Unimaculatas, I will put that link also up here, and you can watch the unboxing of these beauties. Or pause. We also bought this. This is a much larger brine shrimp hatchery. All right. Whenever we're not making brine shrimp in here, we actually have pre-made salt water in there. This pre-made salt water stays in there and we get it up to temperature. All right. And then we can pull water directly out of here and use our original brine shrimp hatchery. So we are still using this. This is for smaller batches. Get down, buddy. Get down. Stop standing on that. This is for smaller batches here, so we are still using it. Now, there's one last thing. Now, every single tank in here, all right, you'll see this rock here, all right? You see that stick right there, little stick, and then you can't see it. I buried it right there. But those two things are just parts of what I did. In every single tank, there is a rock or leaf. There's a leaf in here. I just don't know where I put it. But there's a leaf. You'll see here. This leaf. All right. You see that rock right there. Okay. We got that in a lot of tanks. In fact, every tank. Now let me explain what those are. All right, so like I said, the rock and the leaf, we have a rock and a leaf or a stick or twig in every single tank. Now, why did I do that? Those are not bought from the fish store. I wanted to increase biodiversity in our aquariums so that we had bacteria that was from the wild populating. Now, a lot of people are like, you're crazy, you shouldn't do that. You're going to introduce parasites and pathogens. It's going to kill your fish. No, not really, because I guarantee that you have more pathogens and parasites already in your aquarium before you introduce stuff from the wild. Now, what did we do? We went to an area we know is 100% organic, meaning they don't use any chemicals or pesticides at all. It's completely untouched, okay? We found the cleanest possible stream we could find, and what I did was leaves fall into those streams. So I took a bunch of leaves from these streams, all right, bunch of leaves, big ones, small ones, took some sticks, and I took a bunch of rocks. Now, some of those rocks turned out to be clay, so I buried them in the sand, the ones I could anyways, because clay, if you put clay in your tank, it's going to make your water very cloudy. So instead of putting it in there and leaving it in there, I put it in there and buried it under the substrate. Why? Because clay has some good minerals that are good for plants. So I buried those. The other ones were rocks and leaves and sticks. Now, I rinsed them off, but I did not sterilize them because I wanted that bacteria. So I took everything and I rinsed it under dechlorinated water and got rid of all the dirt on there, but left the bacteria, left those things that I needed, that biodiversity. and I added little bits and pieces to every single aquarium we have in this house. Our fish are very healthy. That biodiversity is going to make these aquariums much closer to nature than they were previously. Why? Because I was putting in bacteria and stuff that was store bought. Nothing in these tanks except for the fish and maybe some of the plants had some of that bacteria. But if anybody knows anything about bacteria, bacteria grows exponentially. So if they have a food source, they will grow exponentially. And I know they have a food source in all of our aquariums. So to increase that biodiversity, I added in pieces of nature into every single aquarium without sterilizing them. And I am 100% confident that I'm not going to kill my fish doing that. So that was what we did. We also wanted to make sure that our fish are not being overfed because we didn't want the nitrates to skyrocket. We know all of our tanks can handle overfeeding, but that makes it impossible to reduce the amount of water changes. Now, in the wild, all of these fish, they eat, right? But do they eat 2 to 3 times a day? Absolutely not. Most of the time, they're going around the substrate and they're picking at the substrate, getting things like detritus worms, little crustaceans that are in the gravel, that type of thing, bugs that just kind of form out of anywhere, nematode worms, that type of thing. Those things form in your tank whether you like it or not. Fish will go around and eat those. They will eat them as long as they're not overfed. If they're overfed, then they're just going to constantly be at the top right up here waiting for you to feed them. So we reduced our feeding schedule down, and we're going to reduce it even further. So we were doing twice a day, small meals, okay? Now we're doing once a day, even smaller meals, and soon it'll be every 2 to 3 days, so 2 to 3 times a week we will be feeding them. There are some exceptions. Baby fry, we want to make sure that they are fed and grow up healthy, so we are going to feed them twice a day still, but we're going to feed them fry food. Fish that are breeding, so if we want our fish to start breeding and producing eggs, then we're going to start feeding them more live food and more frozen food. But as soon as they put eggs down, we stop that and go back to the normal feeding schedule. Once they have wigglers or eggs, then we're going to feed that particular fish every single day in the morning. That way they're not eating their fry or hungry enough to eat their fry or eggs. We want them to be happy and sustained in their belly, so there are some exceptions. So let's take a look at our new exception chart over here. All right, so like I said, this is our new feeding schedule. I'm going to zoom in here just a little bit. So what we decided is that this is a Sunday through Saturday feeding schedule. Sunday we feed food, Wednesday and Friday. So they're technically, the fish are only getting fed 3 times a week. On Monday, we feed all tanks, or I guess you could say dose all tanks with Bacteria and vitamins. The vitamins help replenish anything by absorbing through the fish's, skin. All right. At nighttime, we feed also just 3 times a week. So on Sunday, we feed wafers for all bottom feeders, including the shrimp. On Tuesday, we feed veggies. Now, the veggies will be things like green beans or zucchini, because that's what we found they like the best and doesn't go to waste. We feed that to the pleco tank and the 3 shrimp tanks we have. And then on Thursday, we feed wafers again. So that's the feeding schedule that we moved into to try to reduce the nitrates in the tank, so that we can get the fish to go back to a more natural feeding habit similar to the wild. Now the conditionals of what I was mentioning over there, those conditionals are right here. So during the week, on the days that we don't feed, so Tuesday and Thursday, you'll see here, if we're trying to get them to breed, we'll feed just those particular fish live or frozen food, just to get them to start breeding and creating eggs. Parents that are guarding fry, so let's just say they had eggs and now they're guarding eggs or fry, we're going to feed them daily. That way that it reduces the chance that they're going to eat the eggs. Any fish that are babies or juvenile fish, so fish that are just young, still growing, we're going to feed them twice a day, small amounts. We're going to feed live foods in the morning, so banana worms, brine shrimp, stuff like that, and then crushed flake in the afternoons. And any fish that go into quarantine for the entire first week, we're going to feed only live or frozen food. That's just going to make sure that they, survive quarantine a lot easier. Now you'll see here that we decided that this is our list of live foods that we're going to use. This is what we do to make sure the nitrates are low. We got to clean out the duckweed weekly or twice weekly. This allows for increased removal of nitrates. Now you don't remove it all. You remove only half so that it grows exponentially fast. If you remove more than 3/4 of the duckweed, it'll grow slow for a little while and nitrates will creep up. So you remove only half of the duckweed, let it fill back in again, remove half again, and you keep doing it. And that's the pattern that you want to do. And then every week, we're going to look at the plants that we have and replant any that need to be replanted, or trim any that need to be trimmed if we don't replant them, that type of thing, so that we are constantly increasing the plant load so that it meets a stable, what's the word I'm looking for? Oh yeah, so that the plants to fish to waste ratio is more balanced. So until we meet that balance, then we're going to continue to follow this and do this until the balance is perfect. So basically the nitrates stay at 10 or below parts per million weekly. Now, right now it is May 13th. So let's look at some of the stuff that's updated since the other half of the video. What have we done since then? Because we made some more improvements that I want to tell you about now. So over here, this is our, so over here, these are our grow out tanks. I noticed that the plants in the front weren't getting any light because of the small lights that I had. Now this is what I just had available in the back, so that's what I put it back there. And this is a plant light that I had, so I decided to take one of those plant lights that I had and I added it above the tank to kind of add additional, light. Cories are acting weird, but these cories do that. It almost looks like they're trying to gasp for air, but they're not actually doing that. Last time I caught them doing that, they were laying eggs on the glass. Weirdest thing ever. But, and as you can see, it's got the one, this one here is following that one, so I'm assuming that one there is the female. And the way it looks in there, I'm pretty sure I have 2 females and 2 males. But yeah, so that's what we did here is we added an additional light to help with growth of the plants. I, been trimming the plants in the back and, and adding more. So just trim, replant, trim, replant, trim, replant until it reaches that equilibrium as well. Let's go look at some of the other things that we did since April. So since April, you notice that over here we did have that Monstera plant. That's the Swiss cheese plant. Well, we still have it, but it's a different form of it. This is the Monstera adenosi. It's a much smaller version of it. So we have that up here growing instead, and I'll show you what I did with the main one. And as you can see, it's already growing new shoots right here. And then I have a new shoot, hard to see, right here growing in the back. So this one's already growing. It's growing pretty fast. All right, so that was that there. I added an additional pothos plant here. And this is actually a pond plant. This is called a dwarf palm tree. All right, I have it in here now. I'm going to readjust this so that it's down further, but for now I got the roots in the water. I got it pinned in and it's growing just fine up there. Again, I'm going to readjust this, but it will stay there, but it'll go lower. So those are the things that I did there. Okay. The Valsinaria that I had growing in the 20-gallon tank, I added some over here. So you see here I got it, added it in. That's that leopard Valsinaria. Since I've added it in there, I have a new shoot growing right here. 2 new shoots growing right there. I'll show you on this side. So you'll see there's one right here and then one right there, and I'll kind of block this light. You'll see the roots down there. That's pretty cool. All right. So yeah, so that's growing in there. This plant is one of the swords that I got. It's already got a couple new shoots coming up. Here's the new Java fern called Java Fern Sunrise. If you look right here, there's a new shoot there, and over on the left, there's a new shoot there. All right. You can see I turned down the bubbles in the back. All right, they're going a lot slower, and the fish are still thriving in there. All right, let's look at some of the other things. So here's the 40 gallon. You'll see on the 40 gallon, I had enough shoots growing off of that Monstera plant that I actually added a shoot over here. You'll see it's right here. It's growing, going up. It's actually starting to grow all the way over here. You'll see all the 3 new leaves. These are the small 3 new leaves. And a brand new one here that just shot up overnight. Alright, so those are some of the new changes that we did. I also took this light right here and actually tilted it forward to give this tank a little bit more light. Alright. Got to adjust those so that they are giving light to the right places. Right. Now over here we haven't made the changes yet, but we do have some more changes coming to this tank. I'm actually going to add a pothos plant over here. All right, a different kind though. You'll see it's over here. It's called the Jade and Pearl pothos. So after I clean this out, which I'll create a video for, post that link to the video up here whenever I get a chance or later. So as soon as it's ready, the video, I will post that link up here. Until it's ready, there will be nothing there in the meantime. But yeah, so I'm going to be adding a pothos plant here. I'm going to add a pothos plant down here in the same corner. So I got to drill some holes in the lids and add some stuff in there to drill to add the pothos. Okay. Over here, I'm going to do the same thing. So I need some more roots to grow in this tank here. Weird enough, the nitrates are much better in this tank than they are in the 40 gallon tank. But I'm still going to add some pothos. You'll see from the last time, remember, there wasn't hardly any guppy grass in here. This is how fast that guppy grass grows. This is literally less than a month, and you can barely see in there. That's how fast guppy grass grows. I got to take some of that out before I add in the killifish, but I'm going to add in pothos plant up here. All right. You remember the 2.5 gallon? So we turned that into a Wallstead tank. So this is actually a dirted tank. So this layer right here is all dirt, organic dirt. And then it's capped with a 1-inch layer of sand at the top. All right. These plants in the back here, you'll see them. All right, they were only this big when I added them in. They're already, growing up really, really high. Same thing with these 4 over here. All right, this right here was a shoot coming off of one of the sword plants we had. And I planted it here, and it seems to be doing okay. The worms are loving it in here, which I got to feed them, by the way. But yeah, so this turned into a California blackworm tank. And you don't need rocks, all right? You don't need rocks at all for this. These guys, I found that if they're in a comfortable environment, all right? If they're in a comfortable environment and they're fed well, they breed just fine. So if you look at the amount of worms in here, all right, this is 1 bag of worms. I did the same thing to this tank. All right, I added in 1 bag of worms. And it's been 3 months. Now, if you can look, you see all these worms? I have not cut them up or anything. And I'm going to keep going. This is a 10 gallon tank. You can see them all over the bottom. Now watch when I get over here. All right, look at that. That's from 1 bag of worms. All right. You don't need rocks to breed or to increase your load. They will multiply on their own. So as they go through the gravel, their skin gets rips and tears in it. And when it does, it forms brand new worms in there. But they also reproduce, sexually or asexually. I can't remember what it is. But they also reproduce too. But as you'll see in here, there are hundreds of California blackworms. They go all the way to the back there. And this tank over here started out looking like this, pretty bare, where you can see all the worms. Now, the way to harvest those worms, all right, is when you haven't fed them for a day or two, which is fine, you're going to do that, and that's the way to harvest them. You stop feeding for a day or two, and when you do, you'll see that they climb up to the surface, and they start slithering across the surface of the tank. All right, and all you got to do is take a pipette, put it in there, or not a pipette, but a turkey baster, and from the edges right here, you just suck them up into the turkey baster, and then that's how you harvest them and put them into new aquariums. Now this I'm not going to do. I'm going to actually keep them in there and let them grow until it looks like this tank over here. But the reason is because I just did this a few weeks ago. So this is a new Wallstead tank that we're starting out. It's a 2.5 gallon Wallstead tank. Pretty cool, right? And it's doing great. Plants are doing good. All right, no nitrates, no ammonia. It's already been consumed by this little pre-cycled filter media back here. This is a 2.5 gallon pre-cycled sponge filter that I had in another tank over there. You'll see it's already got algae growing all over it. All right, so that's the change we made to this little bitty tank. Let's go take a look at some plants we added to our kids' tanks. All right, so each tank, and I'm going to show you what we did here. I'll show it in the background. You see this? This is Lucky Bamboo. Okay, we added a shoot of Lucky Bamboo to every aquarium back here. This will help in nitrate removal. It's also a fast grower. So yeah, so instead of adding another pothos, which you'll see this thing's gotten huge over here, and it's trying to go up behind it's crazy. It's trying to go up behind there. Instead of adding another pothos plant in here, we added in the Lucky Bamboo. All right, this Lucky Bamboo will do the same thing. Now the roots will get huge here, and it'll pull out nitrates. And there's the German blue ram. He's huge, by the way. He is about 2.5, almost 3 inches. There's the babies, right there and right there. All right, they're looking pretty good. Looks like one female and one male. But yeah. Now, when I added in the substrate here, these plants melted. So a lot of these melted, and you'll see some of them still are. But as they're melting, new shoots are coming up. Got a new shoot here, got a new shoot there, have a new shoot in the back there. So it will melt, and I'll show you what I mean by melting. So whenever you make a drastic change to your aquarium, crypts or cryptocorymbes, or however you say it, they melt because they don't like changes. Let's take a look at what that melt actually looks like. So this is my middle boy's tank. If you remember, he had a crypt right here. If you remember, he had a crypt right here. It melted all the way down. You see, there is nothing left. Now, am I going to rip the roots out? Absolutely not. This right here will grow another plant. I have no doubt about it. I've seen this happen before. So I'm going to leave it. Okay? And a new shoot will start coming up somewhere around here or somewhere over here. A new shoot will come up and it will start regrowing itself again. In the meantime, and you can see all the roots are still white and still looking good. There's a plant right there. You can't really see it very well. I'm going to get closer here. See if I can see it. There's already a shoot. Oh my goodness. There's already a shoot right here coming up. Okay? But yeah, so that's what that is. So yeah, so that's what happened in here. All right. And again, like I said, we added the Lucky Bamboo back there. All right. Both those are growing strong. And the same thing in my daughter's tank here. We added the Lucky Bamboo. So that's what we did back here. I'm gonna have to strap that thing down. Thing is not staying in the water. So we're staying above the tank. I don't even know what I'm looking for. All right, so I'm gonna have to strap that one down. But you'll see here, it's grown quite a bit since I showed you in the April part of the video. But yeah, so those are the additional changes. And again, this one did the same thing. This is how a shoot looks like when it comes up from the bottom, like that, and it comes up as a single leaf, and then it spreads all the way across. All righty. Now, last but not least, Remember the quarantine tanks? Today is the last day in quarantine. Today we will be taking these guys out of here. You can see the male has gotten much bigger. All right. There he is. He's gotten much bigger, looks much better. All right. He's now about the exact same size as the females, which is good. I have 4 more female pencil fish in here. All right. One of those is a male, even though I thought it was a female. But I got 4 more female pencil fish, and that male right there, he's going into his new home today. And this quarantine tank as well, with all the pencil fish, they are going to their new home, and so are the killifish. They are all going to their new home today. And these are the changes that are happening today in May. So these are the updates that we have made to our fish room. Our goal is to get as close to nature as possible. We're going to add more plants in there. We're going to make sure our substrate is deep. We're going to reduce our water changes. We're going to reduce the flow because a lot of these fish, they don't need high flow. If you have a fish that needs that high flow, then this video is not for you. You can still do the deep substrate layer because that will still have benefits for pretty much any tank out there. But most of the fish we have, they're in streams that don't have a high flow. So we're going to treat it that way. We're going to reduce down our flow. We're going to reduce down, the changing of the water, because the water that is aged is much better for the fish in nature. So why is it not going to be that way in the home aquarium? If you set your tank up to be a successful aquarium with plants, deep substrate, biodiversity in there, then you'll have an amazing aquarium that can thrive and live with hardly any interaction from you besides feeding your fish every now and then. But yeah, so those are the updates here at NoobAquatics. We hope you like our updated tour of the fish room, the changes we've made. If you like the changes we've made and you've seen something you like, make sure you put a comment below. And we always appreciate those subscribes and likes because they help the channel and they help reach those out there that are looking to do something like this in a small confined space like an apartment, because we don't live in a very big place, or someone out there who wants to do it and make sure that their fish are as healthy as possible. Well, thank you so much again for coming to NoobAquatics. We hope you enjoyed this video and you have a wonderful fishy day.